The tape on that one.
All right, so
rewind.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Though,
Hey.
you know, you'll know. You guys will never learn that that I purposefully don't tell you when your mics are hot. So, that's just something that that'll just remain in the archives.
Oh man, I feel like we've been gone for forever. It's been almost 2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. That's a total recall. I'm not having a seizure.
Yeah.
You could be.
Look, I watched Easy Rider this week, so.
Oh God, here we go already. Well, for those of you out there that may be tuning in to see the review of Easy Rider, the number 84 movie on AFI's Top 100 list.
Greatest movies.
Yeah, stick around here for a little bit. We'll get right to it, or we'll have a timestamp in the notes here where you can click on that and go directly to it. Also, if you're interested in more up-to-date things like Star Trek Discovery Season 4, we're going to be doing the second half season review next week. We're going to be reviewing the last 6 episodes of the season and talking about just our overall thoughts for the show this year. So I would say so far, just a precursor, I think it's much better effort than Season 3 was for sure.
Man, and
the first half of Season 4 was better than all of Season 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I just want to throw this out here because I don't think we're going to do a video, separate video on it or whatever. But if you haven't had a chance to check out that trailer for Obi-Wan Kenobi yet, let me tell you, you need to do that. It is amazing. Jason got goosebumps.
We're going to have to stay on after this, and so I can watch it. I'll watch it because I haven't seen it yet, so I'll let you guys watch me react.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, we'll do that.
Added content.
That's right.
So, guys, I don't know if we had anything else we wanted to discuss with the YouTube crowd, or
all I want to do is talk about Easy Rider.
Do you?
All right.
Oh, yes, dude, I can't wait.
Well, let's fucking get to it.
Oh no!
All right, you guys ready?
No.
Bring it on.
Can I just give my score and leave?
Yeah.
No, you can't.
As long as you come back in about an hour and turn this thing off.
An hour? Man, you actually you think we got that much to say? All right, I'll stop.
Jesus.
All right, here we go.
Why didn't you tell me? What's
wrong with you? Oh, God. I'm surrounded by assholes.
Hashtag Santos.
I'm over here being good.
Yeah. Well, fuck you. You're lumped into. All right, here we go.
Pull it.
Hello, and welcome to Three Guys and a Mic Presents, a comprehensive review of the American Film Institute's top 100 films of all time. Number 84, Easy Rider. I'm your co-host, The Human Dart, along with
Jason Tsunami.
And David Disaster.
Hey, we made
Boom.
it. Back.
What's
AFI
up?
list, we've missed you.
Oh, man. I can't believe that stat Dave gave us a second ago. I said, this is the first time we've done the AFI list since October?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been 5 months. What the fuck happened?
We got busy. We became professional. We went down. If this is a lot of people's return to the podcast, we've been doing a lot of Metalhead's journey. I think kind of took up a decent portion of that time, and then we got bombarded with television shows. Actually, pretty much one after the other. So
good TV too, for the most part. I mean, maybe not Book of Boba, but definitely, Book of Mando. But definitely, Witcher was pretty good. Obviously, Wheel of Time was excellent.
Yep. Yep.
Peacemaker, really good.
Fantastic.
So.
And then Easy Rider.
Yeah, and now we're back. Our triumphant return.
Dun dun dun.
Why couldn't it be on a better movie though?
I gotta look. I'll save anyone else some time right now. If you love Easy Rider, you're either going to laugh your ass off at the rest of this podcast, or you might want to turn it off. You might want to turn it off now. But don't actually turn it off. Just let it play. Turn the volume down and just
just go ahead and give us a thumbs up and walk away.
Yeah. This was a movie that I was always pretty interested in. Just because I feel like anytime you see like the Oscars or something like that, there's always a snippet of I didn't even know who it was at the time of Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper rolling down the street to Born to Be Wild.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I've seen that scene a million times, right? So there was always this part of me that was like super interested in seeing this movie. So I went into this pretty excited, and I was just shocked. Like about 30 minutes in, I was so surprised at how much I was not enjoying this movie.
Yeah, I would say for me, this was actually a movie I was anticipating. I remember when we found out the next movie we were doing was Easy Rider. I was like, oh, I know that has Peter Fonda. I know it has Dennis Hopper. I've heard of this movie. I know it has a killer soundtrack. Which, look, if you want to just get this out of the way, the soundtrack is probably the highlight of this film, and there's no 100%. Joking. There's no joking about that. The soundtrack is incredible. Excellent. Actually,
I was listening to it while I was putting my notes together. I was like, "Fuck, man, this is just like, it's all killers."
Yeah, but I was definitely anticipating this movie, and man, I to your point, Josh, I think I texted you. I was 30 minutes in. I think I texted you and I said, "Hey, Josh, I'm about 30 minutes in. Just curious if this movie picks up at all or gets any better." And you said, your words, I think, were something like, "Well, a little bit." I said, "Well, not a lot." And you're like, "No, not a lot." And that was when I became concerned. But, I pressed forward, and, the movie only is an hour and a half long, but I got to say, it felt much longer. And, I think ultimately, regardless of what scores we give this movie here, I just want to say I don't think this movie was for us. All right, so take our scores kind of on as far as this movie is concerned with a grain of salt, because I don't think at least me, I'm not the target audience for this movie.
Yeah, and
I don't think any of us are.
No, I think that's an important statement, Dave, because I think it's important to remember, we're doing this list from our own vantage point of does it entertain us, right? Do we think this belongs on the list? And, if you've listened to more than one episode here, you've probably realized that we're not very intelligent. No. And, we don't do this as a profession. We purely do this for just our own entertainment. So, I think it's an important statement to say that we realize right now off the top that this movie was not made for us. It was made for a very specific sect of people in the late 60s to early 70s.
Now, does that mean we're not... Go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say, as far as my take on this movie, I've never once had the desire to watch this movie, but I will say this. I had a preconceived notion about what the movie was about. I was wrong. And so at least going into this movie, I had zero expectations, as well as the fact that I actually thought it was an outside chance that I would enjoy this movie, because in my mind, this was like a road trip movie. And I like the great outdoors. I like a good road trip as I got older. So I was thinking that maybe, just maybe, I would like this movie. I was wrong. But I thought I would going into it.
Yeah, that being said, all the pleasantries out the way, we're still going to spend the next 45 minutes to an hour dissecting and probably bashing this movie. So, just keep that in mind, although most of it is for comedic purposes.
I think we had an appearance from somebody that has like 10 times the amount of subscribers we have.
Yeah, that's probably true.
That's a real
well, Jason, go ahead and do the recap.
All right, tasty recap time. All right, Easy Rider. Easy Rider follows the path of two friends, Wyatt and Billy. Just a couple of free spirits embracing the hippie lifestyle, sticking it to the man, traversing to the societal landscape of the 60s as they head out on the open road for the adventure across country from California to New Orleans to make it to Mardi Gras. On the ride,
would you say they're heading out on the highway looking for adventure?
Yeah, get their motor running.
Yeah.
All right, so on the ride, we get a hitchhiker hippie living in a commune. They pick up some rando chicks for skinny dipping. They get arrested by being in a parade of all things, and befriend an alcoholic lawyer who gets himself killed. We meet a great small town of folk at a diner who insinuate every slur you can think of. They finally make it to the Mardi Gras and get a couple of hookers that they don't even sleep with, but take them out to Mardi Gras like as if they've never been there. And then they run into a couple of country boys on a nice old country road for a fiery conclusion.
Yeah. Now, when I saw this movie and I saw Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper, spoiler alert, I saw them die at the end of this movie. I thought, okay, this is deep enough into the movie that Dave may not see it. Like, in my head, I thought Dave would turn this movie off during the LSD like tripping scene. Like, okay, I've seen enough of the movie. Here we go.
Okay, look,
I saw that, and I was like, oh, this is going to be so good.
All right,
and
so look,
for those that don't know what we're talking about,
yes,
here,
I was going to say
ahead.
we need the context of the story real quick because it was a long time ago, and like in actuality, it was a long time ago. So
Galaxy far, far away.
We're watching Sophie's Choice, and I'll do my best to not spoil Sophie's Choice completely. But spoiler alert for Sophie's Choice, okay? So just a warning. The end of Sophie's Choice at the very end, the very, very end, there is like a Romeo and Juliet situation of a double suicide, okay? And it's like it happens, and then like 20 seconds later, the credits roll, okay? So I'm watching the film. Something happens. I had to pause it. Now, if you are familiar with how Amazon Prime Video works, when you get to a certain percentage of the end of the movie, and I'm sure other streaming services do this, when you go to resume it, when you go back to the movie, it just has you play from the beginning because you were close enough to the end. So that happened, and I was like, oh, I guess the movie was over. So I stopped watching it. I didn't see the double suicide that happens in the last, literally the last minute of the movie. So if you go back and rewatch that review, I learn about the double suicide while we're live on the podcast. And of course I have to play it off. But if you just listen to it, you won't catch it. But if you watch it, you can see the look on my face change the moment I realize that. Yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah. So I was really hoping for a sequel to that with these guys dying. I was really hoping we'd get on the podcast and we'd unveil it, and Dave would kind of have to relive that. But he brought it up to me in a conversation on the phone. I was like, God damn it.
Yeah. This also does happen literally the last 30 seconds also.
Yes, it's the last minute of the movie.
Like Fonda gets it, and then the credits roll almost immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, well let me read a couple things real quick here, and then we can get into some of the categories.
All right.
So Easy Rider, this movie was released in 1969. This movie was made on a budget of $360,000. This movie actually grossed $60 million worldwide, so pretty healthy return. Yeah. So the movie was nominated for 2 Oscars. It was nominated for Best Writing, Best Original Writing anywhere, Best Original Screenplay, excuse me. But it lost to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And then our buddy Jack Nicholson was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, which I could not believe. He lost. He lost in the category to somebody named Gig Young for his role in They Shoot Horses, Don't They?
Wow, what a strong year. We should do a bracket of 1969. That's what we should do.
Hey, we got Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid coming up here pretty soon, so that's another movie from then. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, there's one thing I kept thinking about the whole time, and I just could never get it out of my head every time Peter Fonda was on screen.
The stop button?
You're right.
Yeah.
No, that I kept thinking to myself, would this movie be better with Clint Eastwood? Like, do you think that would have been? I just kept getting a Clint Eastwood vibe.
You know what?
I feel like Clint Eastwood is too good for this movie.
When y'all were talking about this film, and then I finally watched it, I thought of one person. If you gave one person this movie, that they could make it great. Quentin Tarantino.
I knew you were gonna say that, even though and obviously you mean if the movie was remade, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Same premise.
He's a huge fan of this movie, by the way. There's like a 12-minute video on YouTube of him just gobbling the cock that is this movie.
Oh yeah. Look. I can only assume that we are in the minority when you consider that this made $60 million back in the late 60s.
I think we're very much in the majority in terms of not really liking this movie. I think outside of maybe 10 years, so let's just say 69 to 80, I think outside of that, I think there's a lot of people that don't really like this movie or don't get it.
Yeah, I did a lot of just cursory looking online. Just look, I know this is not professional, but I literally typed "Easy Rider sucks" in Google just to kind of see what I get, right? And dude, there's quite a bit of hatred, or people just not getting the movie, not understanding why it's so important, and the people that defend it seem to be the ones who grew up in it and
exactly.
Lived it, right? So, which look, to be fair, I think that is totally fine, and if you grew up in it and you like the movie, that's great. But to me, that is the sign of a movie that if you had to live it, then to me the movie's weak, in my opinion.
That's fair.
Well, it got a 7.3 on the IMDb or DB. I don't know what it got as far as Rotten Tomatoes. So, I mean, there are people who genuinely love this film.
Well, let's figure out what we thought of this movie, because I think it's time to give up our shit-o-meter scores here.
Yeah, and so if you're new to the pod here, a long time ago when we started this list, we decided that we needed to kind of invent our own proprietary rating system for this, and we typically like to refer to things as shit. And so what we decided to come up with was the shit-o-meter. So the name of the game with this is you want the lowest score. Lowest score wins the game here. So anything from 0 to 10, that's like pristine. You would drop your phone in that toilet and pick it up and keep talking.
Yeah,
right?
Not even a hesitation.
Anything below a 50 is a solid recommend. We would definitely recommend you watch it. Anything past 50 is varying levels of terrible shit, and anything 90 to 100 is like the Golgotham shit demon. It's the depths of hell when it comes to shit.
Now, just for the point of order here, we've never had a movie so far get into a 10 or less on average between the three of us, and we've never had a movie that's been 90 or above on average.
Yeah, David, what's our best rated movie?
Our best is a tie between Pulp Fiction and The Sixth Sense.
Yeah,
both at 15.7%. Our lowest scoring movie, or the highest percentage of shit, is Bringing Up Baby at 87.7. That thing is awful.
Yeah, that's total shit. So Dave, since you've been kind of the most excited about this movie here, why don't you give us your score first?
So, again, I recognize the movie is not made for me, but my rating has to reflect my overall enjoyment level of this movie. And look, I think my score is fairly generous, if you can believe it or not. I kind of went back and forth a few times. I settled on a 75.
Yeesh.
I did not like this movie. This movie isn't it isn't offensively bad to me. Like, it's not that's the best way I can put it. It's not offensively bad, but I would never desire to watch this movie ever again, and I got no meaningful value from this movie at all.
Fair enough. Fossil, you want to go?
You want to go? All right.
Do it, Fossil.
I'm going to agree with Dave in a sense. This movie was not just like outright just god awful. Like, I would never watch it again, but it wasn't. This was I can't remember. I thought for a moment that I was going to make it start to finish with this movie and I mean this, from the absolute first second to the last second. This movie never garnered a single response from me.
Exactly. That's how I feel.
Not a chuckle, not a giggle, not an aghast, nothing.
Stare at the screen.
Up until the last 60 seconds. And that 60 seconds doesn't save it. Like, there is so much wasted space in this hour and a half, and that's amazing. I don't know how you can have so much wasted dead time in a movie that's only an hour and a half. But this one did it. Like I said, I would not recommend this to anybody unless for some reason they were like living in a cave and grew up in the 60s in one of these communes that we saw, and they had never seen it, so they could get some kind of like, I guess, I don't know, flashbacks. I gave it a 69. And I mostly gave it a 69 because it's my favorite number.
All right.
Fair enough. Yeah. So not to rehash everything here, I get it. At the end of the day, like this movie's about freedom. I think Jack Nicholson sums it up best in the movie. Is the movie is about these hippies, right, living free, and after they go to this scene in the diner, they're trying to figure out why all these people hate them, and Jack Nicholson's like, they don't hate you, they hate what you represent, which is freedom, like the freedom to do what you want to do. Like, they're having to live their lives, like lemmings, right? And, follow one after another and go to work and do all this stuff. And these guys are living free, and they're going down to Florida, and they're going to live off this drug money they just did. So, that was like a vibe, man, back in the day, right? But it just doesn't impact us the same way today. I don't necessarily know if I feel like this movie's this bad. I had a better score on it, but I think it is worse than Sophie's Choice. And I gave Sophie's Choice a 77. So I gotta stay true to the shit-o-meter, and I'm gonna give this movie an 80.
Damn.
Yeah, and I want to make something very clear, because like, this is a really bad score, okay? But it's so Bringing Up Baby is our worst score. That movie was abrasively bad. Like, that movie hurt to watch. This movie,
and I think, real quick, Dave, I'm sorry, going to the next category here, which is, does this movie belong on the list? So I think you can kind of segue into that with what you're saying.
So, well, it depends on how I answer that question. Like, this movie is not abrasively bad. I can understand why it's in theory, I understand why it's on the list. I think it's too high on the list. I think this is probably somewhere in the bottom 5, 95 through 100. And I predict that over time, as AFI lists gets refined, because they do go back and update it about every 10 years or more or whatever.
Once you get the hippies out of the AFI,
I think Easy Rider will slowly fall off this list. But yeah, I mean, it ended up with a 74.7, which is the second lowest score we've ever given a movie. But again, that's not an abrasive score, even though the score sucks. To Jason's point, this is literally me an hour and a half just staring at the screen, because there's no I guess for me, there's no conflict, right? There's no protagonist or antagonist until the very last, like, 20 minutes. Not even 20 minutes, because they go on that giant LSD trip that takes 10 or 15 minutes of the runtime. But, like, the diner scene and then the ending scene, you know, that's really it. And I guess the scene right after the diner scene with our boy Jack Nicholson,
where he gets bludgeoned to death.
But that whole scene takes 10 seconds, and you actually can barely see what's going on.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell that anyone else got hit until after the fact.
It's like fucking Platoon again.
Yeah, it's this movie just has problems, but we'll get to those.
So does this movie belong on the list?
Yeah, for me, it does, but... Okay, for me, it doesn't, but I understand why it belongs on the list. So, yes, it's a time deal. So, I understand why the people from AFI put it on the list. That's the best way I can answer the question.
It doesn't deserve to be.
Not for me, and like I said, my prediction is that it will fall off the list.
I don't think that it does, and only because, and again, it's hard for us to speak on this section of it because we're not from that era. I'm old, but I was still born after the 60s. But I can see why this was important to that generation. But as soon as that generation, shifted and was gone, which wasn't even that far past removed from the 60s, like, this movie lost a lot.
So I'm about to eat crow right now because the list we are doing is the second revision of the list. It's the 10th anniversary edition of the list, and to my knowledge, it is the current version. Did
it move up?
It did move up. It was 80 on the list, or no, I'm sorry, it was 88 on the list. It jumped up 4 spots. So
there you go.
I don't another 20 years when the people that were in that hippie movement have retired, and this is gonna fall like a crater.
Yeah. I think it does belong on the list. I get why it's on the list. I just don't like it. It's a counterculture movie at the time, right? I mean, if somebody was making I don't know, what would the counterculture movie be today, or is there one already? I don't know.
I think today's movies integrate the societal issues that we have, kind of, and then weave it a little more seamlessly. Yeah. This one, it just punches you in the face with it because you're coming out of the 50s and the Leave It to Beaver, family, society, everybody's clean cut, et cetera, and you're taking on the hippie movement, the drug movement, live free, love free, make love, not war stuff. It was a big shift, and there was a lot of animosity towards that group.
Yeah, I don't know if that movie exists today. Let's get into the categories here. Favorite scene?
I mean, you want to go, Jason?
I'll go first. Yeah, I'll go first because there's only one. And it happens right before the credits. And that's where both of these motherfuckers die.
Jesus.
God damn. Yeah, so they're arbitrarily just driving down the street, right? And they come up next to just a couple of good old, as Jason said in his recap, a couple of good old boys. And this dude is in there with a shit. Yeah, well.
He shoots him like in Pulp Fiction. What's his name in the back seat?
Marvin.
Yeah,
Marvin.
He shot Marvin in the face.
Yeah, because he's like, do you want me to scare him? And he's like, and then he says, do you want me to blow their brains out? Like, whoa, what, you went from scare them to blow their brains out, and then the gun goes off.
Dennis Hopper throws him the middle finger, and that instigates it a little bit.
Well, he went from scaring him to killing him. That was a big jump.
I think what happens is the gun accidentally goes off because when he shoots him, he looks back at the
he goes, "What happened?
What happened?"
And then
I think it was shot Marvin in the face.
And then, well, how do you explain the second shot?
Well, they gotta go. They gotta go clean up that mess. So they intentionally blew that motherfucker up the second time.
Yeah.
Why did? Real quick question, because we don't do a problems section on the AFI list, but I just have a quick question. Why did Fonda's bike like explode into pieces after he got shot?
We don't know where he shot. It was a shotgun, Dave. Close range.
Yeah, so you could have a visual.
Okay, yeah,
that movie like that.
The gas tank had to blow up because that's where all the money was.
That was the soul of the free man.
That's right.
That burned there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so my favorite scenes are actually the ending scene as well, and I do think the diner scene is actually the best scene in the movie.
I had the diner scene as well. Yeah,
and
it's definitely the most awkward.
And well, my thing is again, I guess this explains a little bit about me, but like I need the conflict in my movies. I need some tension. I need, something actually happening.
How about story?
Yeah.
Story.
Yeah. See, Jason, when I was after I had seen the movie and I was talking to Jason before he had seen it, he was like, "So what is this movie's about?" And I'm like, "Dude, Jason, you can't go into this movie expecting there to be about anything. You're gonna get disappointed."
Dave, I'm not expecting anything. I'm just hoping that they piece together a little bit of story.
And I said, "Nope,
you're going to be disappointed."
You're going to be disappointed. That's it. There is the story is the journey, and the journey is a vibe. Like that's it. That is the movie. Like there's no thing that happens.
No.
Yeah. I also had the diner scene, and I had the scene in the woods after that. But just to explain the diner scene a little bit, so the three guys, so at this point they've picked up Jack Nicholson, so it's Nicholson, Fonda, and Dennis Hopper.
Who is an alcoholic lawyer.
Yeah, he's a freedom fighter basically for the ACLU.
And he's traveling with them. Why?
They got him out of jail, or he got them out of jail, and he decided he wanted to ride with them down to Mardi Gras.
He has tried to make the trip down to Mardi Gras 6 or 7 times and never made it. So he was up for the adventure.
Spoiler alert: he gets beat to death in the woods.
So he
doesn't make it.
Is the message there that he is supposed to be like the middle-aged guy who's over the hill, who's never really like truly been free, and this is his chance, like one last chance to have a hurrah? But hey, the movie's message is, if you take that chance, you're going to get beat to death in the woods by a bunch of random people. Like, is that the message of the movie?
Something like that.
Okay, so stay in line and keep doing what you're doing, otherwise you're going to die. Got it.
No. Yeah. The message was, don't wait until you're Jack Nicholson's character to live your adventure. Go out there and do it, because you never know when the end is going to come.
Oh, when you're going to get beat to death in a sleeping bag. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, by some randos in a small town.
But yeah, just to explain that diner scene. So they roll up in the diner.
Sheriff.
Yeah, they roll up in the diner, they sit down, and it's immediately very awkward because there's all the town people in there. They're looking at these guys, looking at them, judging them as hippies and druggies and this all stuff. And then there's like a table full of 18-year-old women. I hope they're 18. 18-year-old girls that are all ogling these. Yeah, man, look at these guys. Cute. Okay, all right, yeah. And it becomes very clear very fast that they're not going to get any service in this restaurant, and that it's probably going to be in their best interest to get up out of there.
So they go camp somewhere randomly in the dark, and they get found by the same people. Well, one of them beat to death or stabbed to death. It's hard to see what is exactly happening. They're just getting beat with sticks and bats and pipe, and I guess one of them had a knife.
Yeah. So, R.I.P. Jack Nicholson in this movie. That was unfortunate, but those are my two favorite scenes. Favorite characters or favorite character? I feel like this should be a sweep.
I mean,
I'm gonna go with Wyatt, played by Peter Fonda. I think he's the only character in this movie that's like doesn't make me want to vomit.
Yep, that's the same for me. I think it's an easy Wyatt pick.
Part of me wants to go with Jack Nicholson, because he was the kind of the oddball of the group.
Yeah, I can't go with anybody that does that whole like gimmick.
Like,
Yeah,
bro, that just reminded me of Dumb and Dumber when that guy was drinking that piss bottle. You're like,
Yeah.
And then he goes, "Oh, I got a helmet," and he gets this golden football helmet, and just I don't even know why his Minnesota Golden Gophers like club shirt, and it's just like, God damn, how stupid is this? Yeah, he's dumb. So yeah, it was Wyatt.
Hey, there we go. I don't know how often we ever have favorite character sweeps. It's very rare.
well, see, normally there's choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one, there's literally 3 people.
That's true. So for the Roy Batty Award for overacting this week, I went with Dennis Hopper's character.
Go. I went with Jack Nicholson's character here.
Yeah, it's a good choice. I
mean, look, his character is I would probably say the best acted, but yeah, overacted is also can be best acted when you're going up against. Let's be honest, 2 terrible acting jobs in this movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like Dennis Hopper was just like it was almost like a cut rate Cheech and Chong.
Yes.
Just the way he was acting the whole time.
We'll when we get to least favorite character, I'll explain that.
Go ahead, least favorite character. Oh wait. Oh yeah, you guys already said it was Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
Go ahead, least favorite.
Oh, it's Billy. To your point, like he's nothing in this film. He really is. He is literally the stoner friend. He is perpetually saying how stoned he is, how burnt he is, how wasted he is, and seeing shit. I mean, that's his whole thing. It's the whole movie. All he does is play the stoned character who's also paranoid.
Yeah. Yeah, Dave, I think you had Dennis Hopper as well.
For what? Least favorite? Yeah. Dennis Hopper's character. He's terrible, dude. Like, I just like this movie is I think I said it to you, Josh, privately, but I felt like this movie is just super unprofessionally done. Like, it's like they just turned on the cameras and that was it. And look, I know you guys are going to laugh and it's a meme at this point, but I think the cinematography in this movie is terrible. Like like the cuts between scenes, like the random jump cuts.
Flashing.
Yeah, the flashing and like I have to believe this was an artistic choice, but it's terrible.
There's a one scene where they're in the desert and they literally just zoom in on a random patch of dirt and cactus. It's not centered. It's nothing. It's just like the camera was there and they just zoomed in and paused for dramatic effect. Like, oh. And then flash, 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 flash. Oh, it's nighttime. I mean, it's just, God dang, there was some bad stuff in this movie.
Yeah. Well, in an effort not to go chalk here, I chose the guy who shot Billy and Wyatt at the end of the movie as being my least favorite character.
Wasn't that the father of the guy who ended up in WWE with the skinny guy that got beat up by Braun Strowman?
What are you talking about?
James.
Yes.
The dude with the chin?
Yes. They look like they're related.
Yeah. What was his name? I can't remember. James something.
Yeah.
It could be. It's possible.
Could be. Possibility.
It's possible. Hey, so what's aged the best from this movie?
I think
they talked about it early.
What?
Soundtrack.
Yes, that has aged the best. Now, if we're talking about like the actual content in the movie, I feel like, I guess the drug use, because that is still how every drug movie that has come after this, it still seems just like this movie. Like they just talk about the same stuff. They talk about nothing. And look, from all the reports that we saw, they were really doing these drugs. So
Yeah, everything I read says they were really smoking pot while they were doing the movie.
But
the cocaine was not real because they said they couldn't afford the cocaine, but they could afford the soundtrack. I mean, the cost of the rights for this movie for the music was $1 million. So that's like 3 times the cost of the actual production of this movie.
But
that's money well spent.
No, the soundtrack is very, very good. I think that's clearly the best thing about this movie is the music.
I mean, look, the best scene of the whole movie, and I didn't put this in best scenes because there's nothing really happening, but
the
best scene in the whole movie is just them running down the road and on the motorcycles to Born to Be Wild.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like when that hit, I was like, oh, fuck yeah. I'm headbanging, sitting back, I'm enjoying it. Like that was the best part of the movie for me. And it was all downhill after that.
Was that song written for this movie?
No, but it was it works well for it.
Got it. Okay.
There was a process. Apparently, they had 200 albums to scour through for the soundtrack that they were allotted to look through, and I can't remember, but it took weeks, and they just kept slicing it down until they got a collection of music that they really liked. And then they kind of matched it up with the feel and vibe of what they were shooting. And that's how they got the soundtrack. Yeah.
And then at the end where they were talking, like on the LSD trip, they convinced Bob Dylan to give him one of his songs as well. That was Peter Fonda going to Bob Dylan and trying to get him in there. So that was one that they got as well. Old Bob Dylan song there at the end. Yep. Age the Worst. So Dave has kind of referenced this a couple of times here. And I thought this was a good time to talk about this and what's aged the worst is Dennis Hopper, Peter Fonda. So they were credited for writing this movie, and I think the reason why they're credited for writing the movie is they didn't write the script. Like they made this up as they went along for the movie. They didn't hire like a crew or anything like that. Everything they did were like hippies from communes across the country that they picked up and passerby and like this. This was like a truly guerrilla style production. This is like, to Dave's point, it's not a very professional production.
Yeah, and if you're stoned 24/7, this is what the writing
is. What you get.
I mean, look, if you grew up if you were 17, 18, 19 years old, stoned, going into this movie into the theaters with your buddies who are probably also stoned, you probably had a good time in this movie, like legitimately.
Laughing at them laughing.
Yeah, laughing and like yeah, man, freedom. Like just like that. But this isn't a movie. Like there's nothing that. Like Jason, your synopsis of this movie is sometimes you're obviously 99% of the time your synopsis is an extremely abridged version of what happened in the movie. But your synopsis is literally all that happens in this movie. There's dialogue, but they don't talk about anything. Like it's just mundane conversation. The first main conversation they have is they go to some dude's ranch to fix their bike, and that scene is just drags on so long. They just have to bring this motorcycle into this barn, and then the guy sits down.
What can I help you with? Flat.
I got a flat. He's like, turn it off. You're scaring the horses. And I'm thinking the same thing. Like, dude, why is this on right next to this horse? This horse is going to freak out. And it does freak out. And then they get this thing into this barn, and then they sit down, and they're served like beans and cornbread. And the guy's like,
really nice.
you got a really nice spread over here. And then he says it again. Like, dude, what is this movie?
He goes. He says, yeah, I was headed to California too, but life happened. And Fonda looks at him and he's like, yeah, man. Really great spread you got here.
Yeah, living off the land.
You just said that, okay?
Like, oh god, this movie sucks.
It is what somebody that was really stoned would probably say, but I mean, that is the dialogue you got.
Yeah, so I agree. I think just to tidy it up here, the story is what's kind of aged the worst.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, final category. Always the best one here.
Do we have worse scenes?
No, we don't. But I mean, that's everything else we talk. Sure, if you got one you want to talk about.
All right, so the scene at the commune. This is the second. This is the second ride. They pick up a rando hitchhiker dude. They never converse with him about where he's going, where he thinks they're going, what they're. There's some dialogue there where him and Dennis Hopper are like kind of like at words a little bit about, man, where are you from? No, I mean, I'm just asking where you from. And they just end up in this commune where this guy's from. And then there's this scene where they're inside, I guess, the commune house, and they have the camera do a 360, and it goes around the entire room to every individual that is in the room. And it goes like face to face, like just from the waist up, and it's a nonstop like shot circle, and every single person is dead face, just staring. Some are looking in the skies, some are looking in the dirt, some are just looking off into the God only knows what of unknown nothingness. Nobody is saying a word. They're just standing there, like bored out of their fucking mind as the camera spins all the way around, and it gets all the way around to 360. And you're supposed to believe at some point, because Wyatt is like, man, this is the place, man. This is where we need to be. This is where I need to be. This is the dream. Like, this is it. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, everybody there looked like they were a half step away from jumping off the side of a cliff.
Dude,
it was awful.
Dude, you are giving me PTSD from watching this movie. Like, legitimately.
Let's hit this last category and pull the ripcord here. Is this movie rewatchable?
Dude, I wouldn't watch this movie. I wouldn't watch this movie without large sums of money involved.
Yeah.
Like,
I can't think of a single scenario in which I would ever want to watch this movie again. This is not even a movie that I would want to watch with somebody who's never seen it.
Yeah, if your significant other comes to you and like, hey, I really want to watch this movie, you'd be like, all right, hey, here's where you go stream it, and I'm gonna go over here.
Yeah, just let me know when you're done.
Yeah, I'll be downstairs or wherever.
Yeah, man, it's and to the point that I think we've all kind of redundantly said, nothing happens in this movie until the last 30 seconds or 60 seconds.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's it. There's nothing good to be said. Let's just we're just killing this movie at this point. So
let's just pull off the scabby Band-Aid.
Yeah, let's just pull the ripcord and get out of town. Hey, so coming up here next week, we're talking about the second half of the season 4 of Star Trek Discovery. So we're going to finish a review of that, the final 6 episodes. So if you're not caught up on that, get all the way caught up. The last episode does come out next week. And then the week after that, I think we're going to go back to AFI and do Titanic.
Yep.
Number 83, Titanic. Yeah.
I'll never
let go, Jack. Oh, shit.
Why wasn't Rose on our villains bracket?
I don't know, but I think she's going to be a big part of the conversation on this podcast.
Yeah.
Well,
so also,
in the meantime,
before we get out of here, I just want to let the record be known that there is no airport on this planet as loud as the airport that these motherfuckers went to.
And that look,
man,
that was brutal. You guys know who they sold the cocaine to?
Who?
Phil Spector.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Who in 2009 was convicted of murder and sentenced to 19 years of life in prison.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, thanks for that little tidbit as we get out of here.
Yep. Sleep well tonight.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Live long and prosper.